Alright, today we are making this gorgeous yogurt panna cotta with some vanilla beans and a sumac, strawberry and pomegranate molasses compote. Doesn't it look gorgeous? And look at that wobble. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Oh, it looks better from the top. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start with making our panna cotta mix. I have a bowl here filled with cold water. If it's a particularly hot day, you want to put ice in the water as well. It needs to be cold. I have my 2 sheets of gelatin, and you want to put them in one at a time. If you put more than one in at once, they can stick together and the water doesn't go in between both sheets. So just push them in and then fold it over to be completely soaked. I always get asked if you can use powder gelatin instead of leaf. You can't really, they're not interchangeable. If you want to use powder gelatin, go online and find a different recipe that's made for powder gelatin, just because it's really hard to adapt. Some people say like 1 teaspoon is equivalent, but for me, I've never found that to be reliable. Especially with leaf gelatin, it's only going to absorb as much water as it really can. With powder gelatin, it can absorb quite a range of liquid, and that really affects the recipe. So I'm going to put that to the side. Then in here, I have my sugar and half my cream. I'm just going to bring it to a boil. Sorry, my induction top is really loud today for some reason. It's also not very straight. So I hope you can still hear it's not too noisy. Anyway, I'm just going to whisk the sugar in to help it dissolve and bring this to a full boil. So if you wanted, in here you can add in spices. You can infuse the cream overnight with spices, or like whole spices, so put in some cinnamon, some cloves, some allspice, infuse it overnight, strain it off, then use it as normal. Or you can just use ground spices and whisk it in to taste, really just play around. You can also add in things like orange blossom or rose water. It would go really nicely with this dish. With this induction, it tends to boil on the sides first, so I'm just going to give it a whisk. You want it to completely boil. You can also put some chocolate in there if you want. Alright, so now we're fully boiling. I'm going to turn that off. Squeeze the water out of my gelatin, it's nice and soft. Tip that in and whisk to combine. Then, in here we have the remaining cream, our vanilla bean and our yogurt. Now, the yogurt, I think, just adds a bit of a tang to it and makes it a really nice texture, a little bit thicker, a bit denser almost than your normal panna cotta, but I really like it. And yeah, some halala vanilla bean paste, which is the one I always use. So now that that is fully dissolved in, our gelatin is completely melted, so it was just taking this, turn the heat off, add in your gelatin, whisk it. You don't want to cook it once the gelatin is in there. You're gonna tip that in, just get a spatula to really scrape it all in there. Get rid of that spoon. And just whisk it round. So the reason we only have half the cream boiled is because we only really need enough to dissolve the gelatin in. And with the panna cotta, you know, sometimes you go to a restaurant and on the base of the panna cotta or the top, there's all these vanilla beans. We don't want that. We want them suspended throughout. And the key to that is letting your panna cotta mix cool fully so that it's thick enough for the beans to suspend themselves in the mix. And that's why we leave some of the cream out, so it will take less time to thicken. Because of this the yogurt, this one's already quite thick, but we're going to leave it till it's cool. Another important thing about that is with panna cotta, sometimes just because of the way the cream sets, if you pour it in straight away, the gelatine can separate out and you get a layer on the bottom of like a milky gelatine substance and a layer of the top of the like panna cotta. So yeah, we really want to make sure it's fully cooled down. It's pretty thick, but we want it thicker. So I'm going to leave that to the side for about, I'm going to stir it every 5 to 10 minutes and I'll show you what it should look like. If you're impatient, you can put it over a iced water bath. So this is the stage where you could also add in some alcohol, some liqueurs, your rose water, your orange blossom water. You only really want to be adding a teaspoon to a tablespoon maximum. If you want to add more than that, you need to remove some of your cream or some of your yogurt so that your panna cotta will still set. So like I said, with this dish, it would be really nice to do it with some rose water or some orange blossom water. You could add in some cardamom or some other like Middle Eastern spices. I sometimes make a sweet wine panna cotta, so take out about 15 grams, so about a tablespoon of cream, and add in a tablespoon of a really nice sweet wine, and it gives it a lovely flavor. Sometimes I do elderflower cordial. You can kind of just really be super creative. Whatever you want, you can put in there and flavor it with. You could add maple syrup. You could, like I say, melt in some chocolate and add that in. With the chocolate, I would probably get rid of a little bit of the yogurt just to help it not set too firm, but you might want to play around with that a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that to the side. I will show you in a little bit what it should look like. Okay, so now we're going to make the strawberry compote. In here I have the sumac, pomegranate, molasses, sugar and strawberries. And I'm going to turn this on a medium-low heat. So the strawberries I use are frozen. They're Sujon brand strawberries, which I find are the nicest brand of frozen strawberries. They just taste better, in my opinion, but you can use whatever strawberries you like, and in summer you can use fresh berries. The sumac you can buy at some supermarkets in the spice aisles, molasses, or at a spice shop. And the same with the pomegranate molasses. This is the brand I use. I get it from molasses and I love it. I put it in everything. I could pretty much just drink it. I love the like sour, tangy flavor it has. It's like sour but sweet. It's really, really nice, and I really like it in this compote because it gives that tanginess like you would if you put lemon juice in there, but with like a different flavor to it. Just gonna turn it down so it's not steaming too much on the camera. So just gonna bring this to a boil, and then what I like to do is take a whisk and start to crush up the strawberries. So, again, there's lots of ways that you can do this. You can do this with different berries. You can do it without the sumac, without the pomegranate molasses. Something that would be really nice with the panna cotta at this time of year is a nice citrus salad. You know, just some segments of oranges and grapefruit and stuff like that mixed with a bit of sugar and vanilla paste. Really, really nice. Yeah, like I said, any frozen berries. You could make the panna cotta chocolate and then do like a cherry compote with a bit of kirsch and make it a black forest. There's so many options, but you all know how I love strawberries and I love sumac. So yeah, just keep squishing it. Squishing it down, trying to break up those strawberries a bit. And there's other flavors that go really well with strawberry too, so you could do like strawberry and pink peppercorn is really nice. Or you could just do a nice coulis on the base. You know, you get really nice mango puree, the tinned kesar mango puree. Even just that by itself on the base of a panna cotta, the yogurt panna cotta would be like a mango lassi dessert. Put a bit of fresh mint on the top. Like I say, it's just so versatile. So with this, we want it thickened, like it's a sauce. We don't want it super jammy, just lightly jammy. I hope you can actually see it, it's not too steamy. I can't tell if it's steaming up my screen or if it's steaming up the camera. I have no idea. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off and keep cooking it for a bit. Turn off the video, just because I don't think you can actually see that much. And then I will return just at the end when it's about done. Okay, we're back. So I literally only boiled it for another 30 seconds or so. All the strawberry kind of gets caught on the whisk, so you just got to try get rid of that. But what I want is it kind of goes a beautiful shade of ruby red. When you cook strawberries, you'll see they go quite pale to start with, like they're red, then they go pale, and then they go red again. So you want them in that stage of going nice and red again. And it's just nice and thick. The strawberries have pretty much all broken up, but it's a nice saucy consistency too. Sorry, I'll get a spoon and show you a bit better. So not as thick as a jam. Unless you want it to be, then you can make it thicker. But yeah, and you'll see a bit better. It will thicken ever so slightly as it cools down. Have a taste of it, decide if you want more sugar, a bit of lemon juice or something in there, or if you're happy with it. So I'm going to leave that to cool down, and at the same time, I'm just going to move some stuff around. I'm going to show you, so it's been about 5 minutes of a panna cotta mix. It's thickening up quite nicely. I want it just a little bit more, so another 5 to 10 minutes. You want it kind of almost set, really, like you want it really, really thick. So yeah, I will be back with you shortly to show you what that looks like. Alright, so my panna cotta is ready to go in now. So I'm going to get my molds ready first. I'm using these Dario molds. I get them at Molasses. These are like a catering pack ones, so you buy 50 at once. But if you're going to make these a lot at home, you can get some metal ones that are a bit sturdier to be reused over and over again. So really important that you give them a light coating of spray oil, or oil them with a paper towel or a brush. Otherwise they will not come out. Then I will show you what my panna cotta mix looks like. So again, it's nice and thick. It's completely cool to the touch. And you can see the vanilla beans are staying suspended in there. It might be a bit hard to see on the camera, but the vanilla beans have not all sunk to the bottom. They're kind of spread throughout, and yeah, it's really nice and thick. If it starts to set, which might happen if you leave it too long, especially if it's in an ice bath and you don't stir it frequently enough, then you can just bring a pot of water to the simmer, hold it over and just whisk it until it melts a little bit. You don't want to melt it too much, you don't want to heat it up, because then you have to cool it down again. It's a whole thing. So I'm just going to use the bowl. I'm going to tip my mix in about 1.5 centimeters from the top. Right, it might actually have enough for 5. Let me get a 5th mold and see. Sorry, just wash these out, so giving it a bit of a dry. Perfect. So once again, I'm filming this before I send it out, so you will have 5 Darios in your thing instead of 4 as initially promised. Just spread it out. Perfect. So now I'm going to put these in the fridge, minimum of 2 hours, and then I'll check them. Preferably overnight is a safe bet, but yeah, minimum of 2 hours. Man, how many times can one person say minimum? And then check them, and if I'll show you how to tell if they're ready to come out or not. Alright, see you in a couple of hours. Bye. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours and my panna cottas are nicely set. So, what you look for is obviously wobble it. If it's splashing around, it's not set. Touch it. Your finger doesn't go through. It just feels nice and firm. That's how you know. So yeah, been a couple of hours. You can like tip it upside down, all that kind of thing, and it stays put. So to plate it, I'm gonna take a nice spoonful of my strawberry compote. You want to use a nice bowlish plate, as it will be easier to eat from. Try and make it a nice circle, but making a mess of that. Make a little space for your panna cotta to sit. Now, the trick to getting your panna cotta out. It's very common that people think the easiest way is to put it in some boiling water for a little bit, like in a pot of boiling water, leave it for a few seconds, then pull it out. That melts the outside and can, if you leave it too long, melt your whole panna cotta. What you want to do is turn it on the side, use your finger to gently coax it away from the edge, and you can see the air bubble forming. Just wait for it to get to the top. You can pull it at the base a bit more if you need. And I don't think you can see, but the air bubbles the whole way there now, and it's sitting out of the plate. And once that happens, you can do a bit more if you want. Just tip it out. It will just sit on there and then just kind of scooch it into place. Super easy. You can do the same thing if you set it in like a teacup or anything like that. These molds are just really good because you can see what's happening. And so I used to work, the first restaurant that I worked at, I made a lot of panna cottas. We used these molds and I learned how to do that technique and was turning them out like nobody's business. But it does take a minute, so don't stress if your first one doesn't come out perfect. The key is really, you don't want to just shove your finger in there like that. You want to gently just get that air bubble and then lay it out, and you can even go like that. This bit here, I was a bit over eager with my spray and it's gone a bit bubbly, but that's fine. And look how that wobbles. That's the perfect panna cotta wobble. It's just a bit soft on the side, so it kind of slopes into itself, but when I first started dating Ben, we tried a panna cotta somewhere and it was rock hard, and he saw me like wobbling the plate and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him a panna cotta should wobble like a boob. So every time you get a panna cotta, wobble it and think, does that look like a boob wobbling? If not, it's too firm. Alright, I'm gonna put that one away now. So, with gelatin, sometimes, especially with panna cotta or jelly, it can firms up more the longer it's in there, so in there as in the fridge. So panna cottas are best eaten within 3 days of being made, not just because of that, but also because of the shelf life of cooked cream. So, to finish this, we have some freeze-dried strawberries, just to add a bit of visual texture again. If you're doing this in summer, some fresh strawberries, absolutely. Just like to crush a few pieces. And then again, I have picked some flowers from my garden. Sorry, I say again because I've just been filming another video in which I did the same thing, same flowers, being released after this one. But yeah, if you pick flowers from your garden, make sure they are edible. Use Google or something like that. Make sure they're nice and clean, shake off any bugs, give them a rinse if you want to. So just kind of, I like to place them around. You don't have to put flowers on. Sometimes you can buy them. A bit hard to do that at the moment. Halfly, that's not a word. Partially because it's winter, and partially, that one looks weird, because of lockdown. I don't know if the people who normally do them are doing them. You know what I mean. That one's a bit, I like them on a bit of an angle. Alright, and then I have a baby basil plant that I have have to show you this. Half of it is dead, half of it is somehow clinging on to life. I love basil and strawberries, so I'm going to put some basil on there. Just a few little bits, clean up it. Also just adds a nice colour to it. You'll see that a lot of, in a couple of my videos, it seems like I kind of do the same thing of add some freeze-dried fruit, add some flowers, add some leaves for some colour. And because this is a really simple way for at home to add some visual interest to your desserts, you know, it's the things that you would get this in a restaurant. And you always say like, oh, I couldn't, maybe not you particularly, but people always say like, oh, I could never make something that beautiful. But it's super easy. It's just about layering up that visual texture to get something that looks really beautiful and looks like you could get in a restaurant. So here it is, a perfectly wobbly panna cotta. If you don't want to serve it like this, I also love to put it in a jar, not in a jar, I mean you could do it in a jar, in a glass and layer it up, so you can put your panna cotta, then you can put your compote, some freeze-dried strawberries on top. If you want, you can put a cake there, or serve it with some like biscuits, some langue de chat, or some tiramisu, what are those, savoiardi fingers, whatever. You can be really creative with it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy your panna cottas. Bye!